program will begin shortly. Enjoy. Je luistert naar je brein op de radio. Het programma begint binnenkort. Veel plezier.
Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Boat Larson. And I don't have any globes that I haven't broken. I'm going to be honest with you. I used to have a globe. I broke it. You know, that spinny part in the middle, that it just like fell apart. I don't know what to tell you. And it's a tremendous Friday. I am having a wonderful day. There's a little bit of news. It's trickling out. You know what I mean? As with every day. The incels on Twitter, the fucking weirdos on the internet, they'll tell you nothing ever happens. They'll be like anybody else ever see that meme where it's like the idiots, the people who are like, yeah, nothing ever happens. Hey, things seem like they're going to happen, but nothing ever really does. I mean, they might be right about that when it comes to the Epstein files, but you can't have such a negative attitude about everything. You know what I mean? Anyways. Welcome back to your Brain on Air, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ollie Boat Larson. It's so great to have you in the studio. It's so great to have you listening to me on the mic. We got a full day of news for you, so I'm just going to hop right into it because, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't remember, John Bolton, this gentleman, his name is now in the news again. Trump went on the Joe Rogan podcast, talked about how it was great to have him. When he was in North Korea, he was like, yeah, he scared the North Koreans, and it's like, yeah, you didn't even get a decent deal with them, you know what I mean? The peace deal ended up falling apart, and now our relations with them have never been any worse, you know what I mean? So I don't know what you really thought that this bulldog figure was going to do. But anyway, former National Security Advisor John Bolton has been indicted on 18 counts relating to mishandling classified documents under the Espionage Act. Fascinating, you guys. Listen, it's strange of him, if he is weaponizing his government, to go after fellas that it's like, he appointed, and I feel like, listen, it is John Bolton, the walrus. If you guys don't remember what he looked like, he had the walrus mustache. He went and wrote the book afterwards. Everybody did, admittedly. If you worked in the Trump White House, you went and you wrote a book afterward about how much you hated it, but you didn't talk about how much money you made from it. Anyways, we begin tonight with breaking news out of Washington, where former U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton has been indicted, including serious violations under the Espionage Act. The Justice Department alleges that Bolton improperly retained and shared classified information after leaving his post in the Trump administration. Some of it as recently as 2023. If convicted, he could face up to 10 years in prison per count. Guys, if you're not counting, that's 180 years this man could serve. I mean, could. Let's be honest. He probably won't. Let's look into the details and maybe we'll get some more. This is Fox News, ladies and gentlemen. I know that most people will go, ugh, Fox News, and it's like, ladies and gentlemen, they're covering a conservative being indicted by Trump. You gotta take in news from all outlets. That's my personal opinion. Otherwise, you're gonna be too jaded.
Fox News alert, President Trump's former National Security Advisor, John Bolton, has been indicted.
This guy looks like me and my grandpa if we were one person. If I could actually grow a decent mustache and I could keep my hair steady, you know what I mean? I'm worried about that. I want my hair to keep steady, and my hairline's holding on pretty strong, but this John Bolton looks kind of like me if I just had a walrus stash, and if I was scowly, if I was a little more. If I had is it RBF? Yes, resting bitch face. Sorry, I'm working on my slang. I'm working on talking youthful. Anyways.
He's accused of mishandling classified documents. Let's go right to Fox News correspondent David Spunt with the details.
David Spunt.
Hi, well, this is breaking news out of Greenbelt, Maryland, federal court there. A federal grand jury has returned an indictment against former National Security Advisor John Bolton, but we want to be very careful. This has not been unsealed yet, so we don't know the names of the charges, specifically what charges he's facing, and we don't know how many counts he is facing yet, but we do know that this deals with allegedly mishandling classified documents. His own attorney, Abby Lowell, who famously represented Hunter Biden, Bill Clinton, Jared Kushner in the past.
What a list of clients. That is, wow. That is you're bordering on, what's his name's level of clients. He's the famous lawyer. I'm going to grab it. Or I'll come back to it later.
Out a statement a couple of weeks weeks ago when news was swirling that this may be happening, admitting that Bolton did have classified documents in his possession, but said that those were...
Alan Dershowitz. That's, bam, I told you I'd get it, Alan Dershowitz.
Pretty clear.
That's who she reminds me
for the
of.
Publication of his book. So not much information right now other than to tell you that former National Security Advisor John Bolton has been indicted for allegedly mishandling classified documents. I do want to point out, though, that on August 27th, while we were there as FBI agents raided his Maryland home and Washington, D.C. office, agents were looking for these classified documents. And again, Abby Lowell said many of these documents would be, and I want to read a statement here. You don't have it, but I'm just going to paraphrase it here. I'm going to actually read the quote. We're just not going to put up the quote. He said, quote, "These are the kinds of ordinary records, many of which are 20 years old or more, that would be kept by a 40-year-old career official who served at the State Department, an assistant attorney general, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and the National Security Advisor." He said that these are dated with classification markings from 1998 to 2006. He says an objective and thorough review will show nothing inappropriate was stored or kept by Ambassador Bolton. So John Bolton indicted for allegedly mishandling classified documents, and he had said many times in the past during the raid on Mar-a-Lago or when classified documents were found at President Biden's home in Wilmington, Delaware. Remember, he had an investigation too for
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Fox News. Anyways, the documents are said to contain classified details of meetings with foreign leaders, international policy discussions, intelligence briefings, and other high-level communications. Investigators say Bolton used personal email accounts and unsecured messaging platforms to transmit some of that information. Very Hillary Clinton. Guys, Hillary Clinton got in trouble for the same exact thing. She had an email server set up at her home previously because of Bill Clinton. You know, that gentleman, if you didn't know this, who was our president at one point, had one already established at his home. Guys, it's not easy to get a whole internet server. It's just put into your house. To get an email server set up and all that sort of stuff, it takes serious IT knowledge from what I know. So she was like, it was already there. The stuff was already there. You know what I mean? The stuff that my husband watched porn on when I was upstairs, definitely, it was perfectly fine to send documents through. You know what I mean? In addition, federal agents who searched Bolton's home in Maryland and his D.C. office reportedly found folders marked classified, hard drives, flash drives, and printouts of national security materials, some labeled Trump I through IV. One troubling detail in the indictment involves a cybersecurity breach. Prosecutors say Bolton's personal email was hacked by an actor linked to the Iranian government. While Bolton's team did notify authorities of the breach, the government alleges that they failed to disclose that the classified material that may have been exposed. Earlier that day, Bolton surrendered to the authorities and appeared in court, where he pleaded not guilty to all the charges. His legal team claims that the documents in question were either unclassified or part of his personal journal. They also argue that the government had long knowledge about the material, including the indictment being a politically motivated move. All right, fair critique, fair throw out. Listen, we got to take Fox News into account. We got to take in the inquiry. We got to take in MSNBC. We got to take in both sides. Otherwise, we're not gonna. Everybody's gonna try to spin it to their own details. We just got to try to get to the facts. Wherever people are starting to agree, that is kind of that's a good way to determine things. Is what can both sides not really lie about? What parts are just undeniable truth? He hasn't made a public statement. But sources close to him say that he intends to fight the charges vigorously. For now, the steps include pretrial motions, a possible review of classified material in question, and legal arguments where Bolton's writings were truly a matter of national security or political memoir. So, yeah, that's the argument that these people are trying to make. Is this really a situation of the guy looking to rob the United States and be a leak for the United States government? Give things to foreign assets. That is the case that they could be trying to make, or very likely this is most ex-government officials. Biden had the same exact thing happen where he had classified documents. Most presidents get in trouble for some level of classified documents at their homes. We just don't raid them. That's the relatively new thing, using the government to go raid each other's homes, using the government to slap 30 with something felony charges on a former president for literally what's it called, business interminglings, the things that would have never been charged as felonies, except they, by the way, this should have been a case. If you want to talk about the Trump case, they should have made it an incitement of violence case. If you wanted to make it anything, you can't get him. The only reason they made it little bitty business charges is because they knew that those were the only things that they could really genuinely snag him on. That is honestly. And then, by the way, as the trial went on and as the days went forward, more people supported him. His polls went up. So the political attacks and the way that I know that it wasn't Biden's administration. It probably wasn't coming directly from him. I'm guessing he was asleep. But my assumption is that that it was absolutely a level of weaponization of the government against Trump. No one can deny that. If they have a thinking brain, if they have a thinking, honest brain, they will be able to look you in the eyes and say, yes, the Biden administration, or at least his Justice Department, absolutely targeted President Trump, and that is undeniable. If you deny that, you are not an honest person. I'm sorry, that is just not true. You have to be honest about that fact. And if you are honest about that, I will be honest about the fact that if Biden did not pardon Hunter Biden, there's absolutely a chance that he would have been taken down in the Trump administration. There's a ton of chances that all the people that Biden didn't slip little things to before he headed out, they would have absolutely been persecuted. That's what Trump's doing now. You know what I mean? This weaponizing the government is not new. It's relatively new compared to how we used to, we used to just make you resign from president. We used to make you do the Nixon angle. You know what I mean? We used to make you resign from the Senate. Al Franken from the Senate. You know what I mean? When you used to get in scandal, we used to actually punish you, but not nowadays. Not nowadays. You know what I mean? We let you take the government documents. We raid your home. That we punish you with the Justice Department. It's fine. It's fine because we both do it. We just have to be honest about the fact that we both do it. Anyways, I think that that's honestly a good time for us to take a break because, folks, I think that I think that this is a good time to slip in my sponsorship. You know what I mean? I think that it's a good time to let you know that we're already halfway through October, which means that the holidays are around the corner. Many are looking to have the jolliest holiday imaginable. While old school types are gathering around the dinner table with the ones they love, us new gen brilliant types will be taking our Christmas money and doubling it. Now with the Shooting Star Casino. Ladies and gentlemen, with a 40-minute ride from Detroit Lakes and an hour 20 from Fargo, the Shooting Star Casino has been hosting degenerate gamblers and child neglectors since 1991. With rich bitch out-of-towners to your left and townies to your right, leave your troubles at the door and your baby in the car. With Shooting Star Casino, results may vary. This is not an official endorsement of gambling from the White Earth Indian Reservation. Please contact the National Problem Gambling Helpline at 800-522-4700. It is available 24/7 and is fully confidential. Thank you so much for the non-sponsorship. Hopefully they will sponsor me after that glowing review that I just gave them. Anyways, we're on to our second story, ladies and gentlemen. We turn to a provocative claim that's making the rounds. Oxford researchers are warning, apparently, this is quotes, that the internet is dying. The idea is drawing attention, but what does it mean and how much truth is behind it? Let's delve in. According to recent reporting, the argument centers around the phenomenon dubbed model collapse. As AI-generated content floods the web, human-authored writing is being pushed aside. The concern? Many of the kinds of texts AI draws upon to train itself were themselves generated by AI, leading to a feedback loop of declining originality and worsening quality. In effect, we are at risk of ending up with a web made by machines, for machines, echoing AI's own narrow patterns of speaking, and we lose the human voice, essentially, is our threat. Supporters of the warning to data suggest around 48% of online articles were AI generated by May 2025, a major shift from earlier years when AI content only made up a small share of the web. They argue that because AI content is far cheaper to produce than human writing, publishers and platforms have strong incentives to favor it, further accelerating the shift. At the heart of the concern is a kind of, the self-referencing decay of the future. Future AI models will be increasingly learning from content that is itself made by earlier models. It's like they will not be able to check AI because AI will be the fact-checking websites. That is essentially the grand worry here. It's a self-loop of computers checking computers. No human interaction whatsoever. No, because by the way, and predictions are saying that humans are getting worse at catching AI. You've probably been fooled like I have by videos of AI, by such and such. It's impossible to tell what is real a lot of the times, regrettably, until It has to be a dead giveaway. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's lit weird, you know what I mean? Like the human faces just move too smoothly. It's way too convincing, and the older you are, the easier it is to get got by it. And by the way, the younger generations, they're coming in on the iPads, so they're already cooked. They're already on the iPads. They already think everything's AI generated. That's okay. That's fine, but it means that we are losing the human touch. Over time, unique ideas, nuance, and diversity of style may vanish, and the collapse worry is basically the quality of the entire internet could erode. That's what a lot of people are worried about, and that's what I'm worried about. Think about it. YouTube sucks now. When's the last time that you went on YouTube and watched one of your like old school YouTubers? I check on them every now and then, but I'm not on YouTube for like YouTubers anymore. YouTube personalities are dead. YouTube documentaries are hot. YouTube documentaries are great. How it's made, oof. That series is on fire. For some reason, like the only thing getting traction on YouTube is like I made every state's most famous food, or like trying every baconator in my town, or like going to every rainforest cafe. Like really dumb kind of challengey type videos, but they include everything about everything. Like, we can't just talk about this topic like a little bit. We have to talk about this topic a swath. We got to talk about it in depth, which is like, it's fine. You get Keith Eats Everything at Olive Garden for the 50th time. I don't know how many times they can shift their menu, honestly. By the way, Olive Garden has not been popping off, but you know what has? Red Lobster. Red Lobster is back. Ever since they hired the Obama of their place, what's it called? The 30-year-old black guy. He is so cool. I like his atmosphere. He came in there and he's got this good speaking style. He's snappy. I like his back and forth that when he had the biscuits with that reporter. He's cool. I like his energy. Watch the interviews if you haven't seen him, by the way. But Red Lobster's back. They got rid of the endless shrimp, if I'm going to be honest with you. I don't miss it. Shrimp, they're a hit or miss for me. Sometimes they have that weird rubbery texture. Anyways, like whether the process is irreversible already at this point, or already critical, we don't know. It could be beyond a certain tipping point where AI is going to just grab from it's going to fester it to the point where it's already at 48%. It'll be 78% by next year. It'll be 98% by the year after that. You don't know how quickly this shit grows. I mean, if it was just making up a small portion not even a few years ago and it's already at 48%, this sounds like a cancer growing. Sounds like something we need to cut out before it eats away at all of us. So is the internet dying? Honestly, the warning is I would say it's a bit dramatic, but the picture is still like there, as in what's clear is there needs to be a balance between human and machine voices, but it's shifting a lot. Machines are invading the news space. They are taking over that portion. I think that we need to start verifying like this is human made content. I love that YouTube already has that feature when you upload certain things where does it have altered content? Does it have anything AI generated? I appreciate that. That's great. I'm going to be honest. We're going to monitor the academic publications. We're going to study the tech companies, what they're going to be saying. We're going to bring you the very most that we can find about this subject because it's making me a little nervous, and I'm honestly good on it. I think that we can look into it more, and then we can come back to it later because, guys, we got to get into the rapid fire section of today's headlines. Yes, if you're not already familiar with the show, this is a section where about after the first two stories, I go through the biggest headlines that I was able to find on Google, Firefox, I don't know, whatever you use. The biggest headlines that I could find that I think that are, they're important to know about. They caught my eye. They certainly should catch the eye and the attention of others. The United States government shutdown has entered its third week. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on track to the longest shutdown in United States history, possibly. This could be grander than the 30-some-odd day one that we had years ago. This could be worse than anything we've seen before, as they're done. The Congress people, by the way, are on their way home for a long weekend. They've already called it. Thursday, they were like, okay, we're good. We're gonna head home. So yeah, Mike Johnson was like, we're gonna call it. We'll meet you next week. Bye bye. So the 19th is probably when they're gonna meet up again, or no, not even the 19th, the 20th, because that would be a Monday. Israel-Hamas ceasefire allows a surge in Gaza aid after 2 years of fragile truce. This is still going well. Hostile activities have still ended, enabling humanitarian groups to ramp up aid deliveries into Gaza. Trucks carrying supplies waited at the border as deal focuses on relief following October 7th, 2023 attacks. This is crazy, guys. As long as things are keeping smooth over there, we should have nothing to worry about. Bibi seems to be keeping it under wraps. He seems to be keeping the missiles in his pants. He's able to manage himself. He's able to keep his excitement down this time. It's like, listen, I know that you were having fun with the territorial expansions. I know you were having fun with all of the mass, let's call it offensive strategy. But we needed this for the peace. We needed this for peace, not only in the Middle East but at home. I'm sick of seeing people at the mall yelling at each other over Palestine. I'm sick of going to Bruhala in Fargo and having to hear people talk about Palestine behind me. I'm sick of it. And then I'm sick of hearing old men like behind me going like, Israel, and then they turn it into an anti-Semitic thing, and it's not fun. And it's like, listen, you can be against the state of Israel. You can be against the idea that it's like, oh, do we really need to support them with as much as we give them? Does the Mossad give us as much as Ted Cruz purportedly tells us that they do? You can question our relationship with Israel, but you can, like, these guys that I was hearing behind me, it's like, oh my God, they should be they were the young Republican circle. You know what I mean? They were talking about how much they love Hitler. I'm just kidding. In India, Gujarat, India swears in new cabinet with 21 ministries after mass resignations. Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel's administration expanded with 21 new members, including Deputy CM Harsh Sanghavi, following a complete cabinet reshuffle. This aims to refresh the governance ahead of key state elections. India is one to keep your eyes on. If Modi, he's one of the most interesting leaders that I think people should look into. The East in general, I will admit my knowledge, I wish it was deeper. I wish that I could speak as, what is it called? Encyclopedically around this region. You know what? I'm going to make note of it. I'm going to learn more about India. The Pakistan-Afghanistan region is fascinating in the way that I promised that I would look into it a little bit. I watched 3 YouTube videos and I have no books about it. What do you want me to do? UN report over 780 million people faced hunger in 2025 due to conflicts and climate. Hunger. I thought that was like, we just called it starvation. I don't know. Is there like a nice way to put it? Okay, whatever. The latest UN World Food Program data reveals record food insecurity levels driven by wars, inflation, and disasters. Affected regions include the sub-Saharan African region, the Middle East calling for urgent global intervention. Well, yeah, we're already doing that. Didn't you hear my other story? It's not like, how is this even important? I already said that we're doing that. Trump and Putin agree to a summit preparations after phone call on Ukrainian presidents. Trump and Putin discussed a potential meeting during a call with envoys set to convey soon. Russia markets surge on the news, signaling hope for de-escalation in the Ukrainian conflict. De-escalation, I hope. That would be great. Keep the Russian-speaking provinces, Putin. That's absolutely fine. That's whatever. IMF. Nigeria lags behind African peers in economic growth rankings. The International Monetary Fund excluded Nigeria from Africa's fastest-growing economies list, spotlighting Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Uganda. Factors include oil dependency and policy hurdles. BBC Gaza documentary ruled in violation of UK Broadcasting Code regulatory. Ofcom found that a BBC program on Gaza breached impartiality rules, prompting debates on media coverage of the conflict. The decision underscores scrutiny on public broadcasters during sensitive geopolitical events. How interesting, right? The UK King Charles. I still want to call him Prince. Is that wrong of me? I don't know if it's like treasonous or whatever. I'm not from his country, so I think it's fine. But the UK's Prince Charles is to pray publicly with Pope Wait, the Pope? Heck yeah, Pope Leo. Okay, I've been a fan. I'm not even gonna lie. Pope Francis, he was okay. He was gentle, whatever. Pope Leo, I like the Chicago energy he's bringing. He's reminding me of, like, every episode of Shameless I've watched, you know what I mean? I like the Chicagoan. I love Chicagoans. They're some of my favorite people. I've met, like, only a few of you, but, you know, you seem like gentle folks. I know that, you know, you got a type of pizza that you really like that I'm not a big fan of. But the Pope, essentially, he's the first British monarch in 500 years to pray with one of the popes. So listen, Pope Francis hasn't been Pope for 500 years, but this is the first time that these fellas are going to sit together and they're going to hold their hands together and they're going to talk to God, because apparently the Catholic and the English Church, they can get along. I didn't know that. That's cool. You know what? If they can get along, that should give us Lutherans and Protestants hope. You know what I mean? I say us. It's because I was baptized Lutheran. I'm a secular. Whatever. Neo-Nazis in the UK jailed for 29 years over plots against mosques and synagogues. That's not fun. Why did I say synagogues? I need to work on my pronunciations. 3 far-right extremists received lengthy sentences for conspiring terrorist attacks on religious sites. The case highlights rising domestic extremism threats in Europe, with authorities vowing continued vigilance. That's unfortunate. I hope for the best for that country. Guys, this is serious. I think that people, Gen X, boomers, will be devastated. Ace Frehley, could be either, founding guitarist of Kiss, dies at 74. I know that a lot of people love this band. I can think of a few songs from them. I'm back in the New York groove. I think that's one. It's pretty good. Fly high, King. That's all I have to say. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry that had to be our last headline, but it will not be our last story, because we have one more story to cover with you tonight. We have a warning tonight about a dangerous new drug quietly flooding smoke shops, gas stations, and convenience stores. Not just in the Bay Area, San Francisco, where it mainly originated, but across the country. It is called 7-OH, short for 7-hydroxymitragynine. And health officials say that it is a highly potent opioid, chemically related to kratom. If you haven't heard of kratom or kratom, however you pronounce it, it's a type of greeny leaf, and the people grind it up. They put it in a sludge sometimes that they drink, and this is similar to that, chemically related, but far more powerful and far more dangerous. While kratom itself is controversial, it's served in some smoke shops. I've never personally gone down a kratom hole. It's not my favorite. I don't like the vibe that it gives me. 7-O, as it's commonly called, is not your average plant extract. It is a concentrated compound, either extracted or synthetically enhanced from kratom. And according to toxicologists, it can be 10 times more powerful than morphine. The drug targets you by working on your brain's mu opioid receptors, the same ones affected by heroin, fentanyl, and prescription painkillers. At low doses, users report pain relief and euphoria, but at higher doses, it can cause respiratory depression, unconsciousness, and death. Doctors say overdoses from 7-O can look identical to those caused by fentanyl, but because it's often sold in brightly packaged gummies, drink mixes, or vape liquids, many users don't realize that they are taking a powerful opioid. Some are calling it gas station heroin. In states like Texas, California, and Florida, authorities are seizing millions of dollars in illegal 7-O products, but that are often sold next to energy drinks or CBD oil. Many of these items are not labeled clearly, and in some cases, doses vary wildly, even between identical packages. In the Bay Area, officials have confirmed multiple hospitalizations and at least 2 deaths linked to 7-O this year alone. Across the U.S., poison control centers are tracking a sharp increase in calls related to kratom and its derivatives, and 7-O is one of the ones they're watching most closely. The FDA is now calling for urgent action, recommending that 7-O be officially listed as a controlled substance. In their words, quote, "This compound presents a serious and growing threat to public health. Several states, including Florida and California, have already moved to restrict or ban the sales of concentrated 7-O products, with others expected to follow. But the legal status remains murky, because 7-0 occurs naturally in the kratom plant. Some manufacturers argue that it's still protected under existing supplement laws, even though the effects are closer to heroin than herbal tea. Experts warn that 7-0 is especially risky and is often used without prescription or without oversight, and without users knowing how much they're actually consuming. And unlike traditional opioids, 7-0 is easily accessible, often sold to teens, marketed as something far more innocent. Like it's not being recommended to these kids as you're getting into heroin. It's like you're getting into an energy drink. It's the new monster for these kids. The bottom line is that 7-0 is an unregulated opioid with high risk for addiction and a low margin for error and a growing popularity in places you'd least expect. Health officials are urging parents, educators, and community leaders to learn the signs of opioid use and ask questions about unmarked supplements and take this threat deeply seriously. We are going to continue to track this story as more comes out. Right now, we have a clip from SF Gate, San Francisco Gate. Here we go.
There's a new drug called gas station heroin that's exploding in popularity in California, leading to overdoses and fears of a new opioid crisis. These synthetic kratom products, known as 7-OH, also pronounced 7-O, are potent opioids that are often sold in candy-flavored pills. The drug is more than 10 times stronger than morphine, yet openly sold across the country, including to minors. I talked to a Bay Area teenager who tried his first 7-O pill in June. He first noticed 7-O at a gas station 5 minutes away from his family's Bay Area house and bought it out of curiosity. Immediately hooked, he returned the following day for more. He told me that it felt euphoric, saying my anxiety and all my problems went away, and I just felt really good. Within 3 months, he had spent over $5,000 in 7-O, as he quickly developed a tolerance, and he had to take more and more to get the same high. He was in a deep stage of addiction. He'd gotten accepted into a state university in California, but on the day in September when he was supposed to start his freshman year, his parents dropped him off at a rehab instead of a dorm. The teenager's mother told me her other son also started using the drug. She said trying to keep her sons away from 7-O has made her feel so incredibly helpless as a parent. 7-O was first discovered in kratom, which is derived from a tropical tree related to coffee. Traditionally used in Southeast Asia for pain relief and mood enhancement, kratom has recently gained popularity in the U.S. as a potential alternative to pharmaceutical opioids. In the 2 years since 7-O has become available in the U.S., it has quickly grown to a blockbuster seller, and experts are concerned that it could cause the next opioid epidemic. Some experts are calling for a ban, but other industry groups representing 7-O sellers argue it should be regulated instead of outright prohibited. You can find my full report on this drug and hear from the people I spoke with through the link in our bio.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not recommending a absolute prohibition on this drug. That never actually works. We have to have an education campaign. If you know people who get into kratom, if you know people who are indulging even a little bit in that world, warn them. Tell them to be careful. Kratom can be deeply appealing to a lot of folks because it is far less dangerous in many cases than pharmaceutical opioids. And many people think that it's over the counter. I'm doing it myself. It's like an herbal remedy. It's so much more natural. It's so much better for me. You need to be extraordinarily cautious. I promise you, if you go to smoke shops, I went to a smoke shop and they were selling mushroom vapes that were not even mushrooms. These are not mushroom vapes. There's something chemically otherwise in these vapes. I would assume it was some derivative of DMT or what's it called? I can't remember the other one. But my point is that you don't know what you're buying from these places. Protein powder is not regulated by the FDA and they're finding out that it has lead in it. Ladies and gentlemen, the things around you, the snake oil salesmen are still around. That is not a thing that has simply gone away with time and history. It has simply evolved alongside it. That is the protein supplement places. That is the places that are selling you unregulated drugs. That is the what's it called? The corner stores. You know what I mean? You are better off finding someone who grows weed than you are finding a plug. It's your second option, but your first option is always to go to somebody who grows, someone who you trust, someone who you can authenticate. If you're not going to do either of those two, then you go medical. Or you can go medical, the first option, if you qualify. I'm not even lying, but most of the time people don't. I'm not going to lie to you. But this is a serious drug, 7-O. Warn as many people as you can, especially if they're in the kratom scene. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to leave on such a serious note, but I promise you that we're going to be back Monday because, ladies and gentlemen, if you subscribe, we are back weekdays. That's our schedule. That's what we always do. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate the fact that you decided to get your news from here. And, if you notice any mistakes that have been made in my reporting, clock me on it, comment it, do whatever you got to do. I appreciate it, and that's what makes this only a more trustworthy place to listen to. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the fact that you've been here as long as you have been. This is Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate it, and have a great and wonderful rest of your weekend. I'll catch you here Monday. Bye-bye.